'Cause girl, you
want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You, moonlight. You're my starlight. I need you all night. Come on, dance with me. I'm levitating. You can fly away with me tonight. You can fly away with me tonight. Baby, let me take you for a ride.
Welcome to the 2021 Founders Award. For those of you who might not yet know me, I'm Bree Newland, and I'm so excited to serve NASSM as president this year. Wish I could talk. I wish that we could all be together to celebrate the awardees tonight, but it gives us the opportunity to look forward to seeing each other next year. Before we get started this evening, I would first like to provide a land acknowledgement for where I'm located. I'm here on the unceded land of the Lenape homelands. I ask you to join me in acknowledging the Lenape community, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. NYU also acknowledges that it was founded upon exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples, including those on whose land this institution is located. I'm also conscious that New York City has the largest urban Native population in the United States. This acknowledgement demonstrates a commitment to beginning the process of working to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. So with that, I would also like to acknowledge the theme for the conference this evening. As the preeminent academic association for sport management research, teaching, and service, NASSM has accepted the call to action to address racial inequities within its membership and in the field of study. The NASSM 2021 conference theme, Race Forward, Agents for Change in Sport Management, encourages sports scholars and educators to explore our role more fully in advancing racial justice through our research, teaching, and practice. Throughout the conference, we have encouraged and enjoyed our colleagues' work that explored the ways race and racism affect our sport management and our role in promoting a more socially just field. Thank you to all who contributed work specific to the theme this year. It was much appreciated. I would now like to recognize the Earl F. Ziegler Award recipient. The Ziegler Award is the most prestigious award in our field and recognizes those individuals that have made significant contributions to NASSM and the field in terms of scholarship, research, leadership, and peer recognition of their contributions. The individual must reflect those qualities demonstrated by Dr. Ziegler in the areas of student growth and development, leadership, service, scholarship, collegiality, and through this must have made significant contribution to the field of sport management. Thank you again, Dr. Marlene Dixon, for such an inspiring speech at the start of the conference. I would now like to recognize the Garth Patton Distinguished Service Award. This award annually recognizes a member's outstanding service contributions to NASSM. The Dr. Garth Patton Distinguished Service Award is intended to A, be one of distinction within NASSM and the award recipient's own academic community, and B, encourage high standards of service to NASSM and other forms of contribution among NASSM's members. The recipient has to be a NASSM member in good standing for at least 10 years and demonstrate an ongoing record of exemplary service to NASSM. I'd now like to welcome Dr. Katie Meisner, who will introduce our award recipient, Dr. Lorena Hober.
Good evening, friends and colleagues. It is my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Lorena Haber from the University of Regina as the winner of the Garth Patton Distinguished Service Award. Dr. Haber earned her PhD from the University of British Columbia in 2004 and has been a faculty member at the University of Regina ever since. She is currently a professor and associate dean of graduate studies, research, and special projects for the Faculty of Kinesiology and Health Studies. I first met Dr. Haber in 2007 when I was the student representative on the NASSM Executive Council. At the time, Lorena was the secretary on the council and was an outstanding mentor to me, welcoming me as a young scholar into the NASSM community and encouraging me to stay involved over the years that have followed. She has been a member of NASSM since 1998, first as a doctoral student and then as a professional member. Since that time, Dr. Haber has served our NASSM community in a variety of roles, and these tireless efforts demonstrate a clear dedication to our association, to its members, as well as to the growth of our field more broadly. So let me list a few of her contributions for you tonight as an inspiration for all of us to consider putting our hands up more often. She has served on the NASSM Executive Council as secretary for 2 terms. As president-elect, president, past president, she's been a member of the conference task force, the NASSM Ad Hoc Strategic Planning Committee, chair of the Janet B. Parks Research Grant Committee, and a member of the working group on the strategic plan. Notably, she has also been the co-chair of a conference organizing committee for our conference in 2005 in Regina, and chair of the registration committee for the 1999 conference in Vancouver. She also continues to serve NASSM in various academic roles as a section head and a reviewer for the conference, reviewer of student research competition, a mentor in the faculty student mentor initiative, and on the editorial board of the Journal of Sport Management. Wow. I'm sure you will agree that her contributions are remarkable. She exemplifies what it means to be an active and contributing member of our association. Beyond this, and I think more importantly than the roles she's held, she leads by example with values of inclusivity and excellence, always encouraging fellow NASSM members to get involved in order to better our association and ensure that everyone can participate, thereby improving our field. I know that many of you would echo these sentiments tonight, and I'm very pleased that we can recognize her outstanding service tonight. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations, Lorena.
Thank you, Katie, for that introduction. Of course, obviously, I know what I've done, but it's always odd when you hear someone else list what you've done and all the things that I've done it for NASSM, but I've done it willingly and I've loved every moment of it. Before I begin, I want to say congratulations to the other major award winners, to Marlene, to Barbara, to Jacqueline. Congratulations. It's amazing to be a part of this very special group of the first time that there's 4 women award winners. It's amazing to be part of that. And I hope it's not the last time that there are 4 women getting this award. It's an honor to receive this award named after Garth Payton. I've had the privilege of meeting Garth many times early on in my career, and probably the first time was in Vancouver in 1999 when I was part of the organizing committee. Garth is such a kind and a generous and a giving individual, and it's nice to know that there's an award that recognizes those types of actions and attributes. I often hear people say service doesn't count, or service won't get you promotion and tenure. And that's probably true in most cases. The dominant culture of service on most academic institutions is one where service isn't valued. You likely will not get promotion or tenure solely from service. So then why would I do it? I knew that going into this. I knew the game. I knew that service, people would tell me in the advice, like, don't do all these things. So why would I do it? Well, first of all, I learned early on in my career that there was a benefit to me as well in terms of doing service. Through service, I've gained a ton of knowledge and skills, like how to write motions, to chair meetings, to write policy, and what the meanings and expectations were for grants and abstracts. And I can pass it along to my students. So you learn the inside things about what goes on. Service has also provided me with a number of different lived experiences that I can then use and share in my classes to provide authenticity to what I teach. Service has also impacted my research, such as wanting to learn more about gender and leadership is something that I experience in some of these roles. It's also opened up opportunities to perhaps meet people and collaborate with others. And lastly, and most importantly, service allowed me to meet more people who impacted my career, maybe as referees, maybe people who looked at my work as collaborators, but most importantly as friends. Like, I can't imagine my career without all the people that I've met in NASSM through all the things that I've done. Second, I've also realized now that my success and the success of others is partly dependent upon the service of others. This could be, again, in terms of reviewing grants, ethics applications, abstracts, papers. It can be like all the work that goes behind in terms of organizing committees or running organizations. And I know that other people served on hiring peer review committees when I was the one being reviewed. So others have helped me, and I realize how important it is to help the success of other people, that we need to do, that we need to give back. One of the hardest things, though, about service is saying yes. Because as soon as you say yes, there is a commitment, an obligation, and a responsibility. And I know service is hard. It's not. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It takes time and it takes effort. But as Marlene Dixon, the researcher, said on Thursday, sometimes we need to do hard things, and we can do hard things. So please consider saying yes sometimes. I'm not saying all the time. You don't have to shoulder all the burden, but say yes sometimes to these service opportunities. Of course, it's going to help other individuals, but you might be surprised at how much you might benefit from saying yes and doing these service opportunities. So thank you again for this award. It's much appreciated.
Thank you for your longtime service to NASSM, Lorena. I am grateful for the path you forged for those like me to follow. Thank you very much. I would now like to recognize the NASSM Distinguished Sport Management Educator Award. The purpose of this award is to recognize exceptional contributors to teaching and learning. The award signifies A, a distinction in classroom and/or field and/or online teaching, B, an excellence in pedagogical innovation in teaching methods and/or course design and/or curricular design and/or assessment, C, sustained commitment to the improvement and quality of teaching and learning in the sport management discipline, and D, sustained commitment to one's own professional learning. Any professional member of NASSM is eligible to be nominated and receive the NASSM Distinguished Sport Management Educator recognition. Nominees must have been members of NASSM for a minimum of 5 years and must have taught sport management courses for a minimum of 3 years. I'd now like to welcome Dr. Arian Waite, who will introduce our award recipient, Barbara Osborne.
I have been privileged to work with Professor Barbara Osborne over the last 10 years, and not a day goes by that I don't see her sitting one-on-one with a student to help them navigate the complexity of the law, discuss career paths, or provide mentorship in some way. June 2021 marks 23 years that Barbara has taught at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and throughout this time, she has devoted her professional life to enriching the lives of her students through a thoughtful examination of the law related to the sport industry. She loves what she does. She is passionate about the law and passionate about teaching, and I can't think of a better way to celebrate and honor her years of selfless service than through this award. In my nomination letter, I outlined her storied career as a preeminent sport law scholar. She has earned awards, given hundreds of talks, skillfully utilized captivating teaching methods, and given thousands upon thousands of hours of endless service. But nothing speaks to her legacy as an educator more than her network of alumni who are now conference commissioners, athletic directors, and other industry leaders that come to Chapel Hill seemingly weekly to say hello and give back to our current students. They reference things that she taught them, that they use daily in their lives, in their careers, or every once in a while in critical moments of crisis or decision. She lifts and inspires everyone around her and exemplifies what we should all strive to become as educators. It is with gratitude and honor that I introduce the NASSM Distinguished Sport Management Educator Award winner, Barbara Osborne.
Thank you, Dr. Waite, for that wonderful introduction and for taking the time and effort to nominate me for this award. Congratulations to the other NASSM award winners, Dr. Dixon, Dr. Haber, and Dr. McDowell, as well as those who have achieved Research Fellow status and the Student and Research Grant Award winners too. It's a wonderful and special moment to be recognized alongside such amazing scholars and to join the ranks of all of the distinguished sport management educators who have previously been recognized. It feels like these awards have been such a long time in coming. It was unimaginable a year ago that the NASSM conference would not be held in person again because of the pandemic. However, because of the pandemic, I think there's been a renewed focus on the importance of good teaching. NASM is mostly a celebration of research, but unless you have a 100% administrative or research position, you were hired to be an educator. As an educator, your focus has to be on students. If necessary, remind yourself that you wouldn't have a job without them. The pandemic has forced me to really evaluate not only what I am teaching, but why I am teaching it and how it is taught. I've spent more time in teaching seminars in the past 15 months than I did in my first year of teaching. And no matter how good a teacher you think you are, I encourage you to engage with your Center for Teaching Excellence, or whatever you may call it, and continue to learn and grow as a teacher. Your students deserve that. Ironically, the pandemic has also created wonderful possibilities for collaboration. One device that I will continue to use is to connect with content experts as guest lecturers. I encourage you to build reciprocal relationships with others to exchange guest lectures in your areas of expertise. Speaking of expertise, I believe that I am the first NASM award winner to have a JD, so I'm going to take advantage of this platform to advocate for hiring lawyers to teach sport law. Every area of specialization in sport management requires special expertise, so it is shocking to me that so many programs just assign the sport law class to whatever faculty is willing to do it. Law touches every aspect of the sport industry, and legal training provides a foundational insight that teaching from the text will never achieve. I also want to advocate for hiring people with industry experience, along with the appropriate academic credentials, of course. The things that are learned working in the industry also provide insight and applied examples that students will not typically get from just reading. Physical health, mental health, and racial justice dominated the news this past year. And this provided another opportunity to examine how we approach teaching. I encourage you to look closely at not only how you present, but also model these concepts. Our words and actions have a huge impact on our students, and physically exhausted and mentally stressed faculty are incapable of giving their best. Similarly, we can't inspire students to give their best if the language and images we use in class are not inclusive. And physically exhausted and mentally stressed students need our grace to be able to get through whatever burdens they have been bearing. Personally, I've had to reprioritize as I was diagnosed with breast cancer in February. In true teaching public service announcement form, I'm sharing this to remind women to get their mammograms, but both men and women should also do self-exams on a monthly basis. I had a clean mammogram last June and found a lump 7 months later. Because I found it early, I've been very fortunate in my prognosis. I'm also feeling fortunate that I was able to record this when I still had hair. Speaking of good fortune, I want to give a shout out to my colleagues at UNC. Ariane Waite, Nels Pop, Jonathan Jensen, Bob Malakoff, Brad Bates, and Danielle Smith are rock stars that constantly challenge me to up my game. I look forward to going to work every day because of them, and of course, because of our amazing students. Thank you so much to NASM and to the NASM Awards Committee for giving me this honor, and to all of you for your collegiality and support.
Thank you, Barbara, for your amazing dedication to your students. They are so lucky to have you. I'd also like to thank you for the reminder to all of us to stay vigilant in regard to our health and wellness. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this. And you've heard enough from me, so we will look at the next award winner.
Congratulations. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
I'd now like to recognize the Joy DeCensi Diversity Award for Inclusive Excellence. The purpose of this award is to recognize exceptional contributions to promote diversity and inclusion within NASM and related sport management disciplines. The award signifies a significant contribution to promoting and understanding diversity within NASM, B, the creation of innovative programs, initiatives, strategies, etc., designed to enhance NASM's diversity and inclusion, and C, a sustained commitment to developing diversity and inclusion in sport management disciplines through teaching, research, and/or service. Any professional member of NASSM is eligible to be nominated and receive the NASSM Joy DeCency Diversity Award for Inclusive Excellence recognition. Nominees must have been members of NASSM for a minimum of 5 years. Nominees may be of any faculty rank and must currently be employed full-time at an academic institution. I'd now like to welcome Dr. Trevor Bopp, who will introduce our award recipient, Dr. Jacqueline McDowell.
Hey everybody, and thank you for stopping by to congratulate and honor this year's NASSM Diversity Award winner, Dr. Jacqueline McDowell, Associate Professor of Sport Management and the Academic Program Coordinator of the Kinesiology Undergraduate Program at George Mason University. I'm honored that Jacqueline has asked me to introduce her. I believe her to be the true embodiment of this award, not only in her efforts towards diversity promotion and inclusion throughout the NASSM community, but also in her teaching, research, and service. In the classroom, she's taught diversity and inclusion issues in sport, diversity in sport organizations, sociology of sport. She's been invited to numerous speaking engagements here at US as well as other institutions, but her reach extends beyond just the United States. She's delivered over 19 teaching presentations to athletes, athletic administrators, and coaches from countries all over the world, including Nigeria, Colombia, Peru, and Zimbabwe, just to name a few. Her research focuses on issues of diversity, inclusion, and equity in sport and recreation organizations, with a particular emphasis on the intersecting identities of women of color in sports spaces. To this end, Jacqueline has authored or co-authored many peer-reviewed manuscripts and book chapters that serve to investigate and develop practical strategies and programs aimed at removing barriers to employment and participation opportunities in sport and physical activity. She wants her research to be practically impactful and not just read by the scholar community. In 2013, she partnered with campus recreation leaders and received a grant from the National Intramural Recreational Sports Association to evaluate Title IX compliance in collegiate campus, recreation, and intramural departments. And for this, she and her co-authors were awarded the 2017 NASSM President's Award for Article of Distinction. She's presented her work at various international, national, and regional conferences and has made sharing her findings with the NASSM membership a priority throughout her career, as evidenced by her 23 NASSM conference presentations. She's mentored numerous graduate students, having chaired 5 doctoral dissertation committees as well as numerous thesis committees, many of which were centered on diversity-related research. And this demonstrates her desire to foster a culture of impactful research, as well as educate and mentor future scholars to do the same. In fact, as a student, she became the first Black female to earn her doctorate in sport management at Texas A&M University, Gale. And currently, she is co-editor of a special issue for SMED titled Diversity, Inclusion in Sport Management Education. She currently sits on the board of directors for the Black Women in Sport Foundation. However, during her entire career, Jacqueline has been an advocate for positive change and helping to create a more inclusive culture among NASSM as well as the sport industry at large. She has served on various athletics councils while at George Mason University, Texas A&M University, as well as the University of Illinois, where she also held a position on the Chancellor's Committee on Race and Ethnicity. She has and continues to be a positive influence on the NASSM community, having served as the chair of the Diversity Committee in 2012 and 13, as well as a committee member the 2 years prior. She's twice been elected to serve as a member at large on the executive committee, and in that role has worked to improve communication between the EC and the International Relations Committee, the Diversity Committee, as well as Women in NASSM. Jacqueline's been invited to participate in various workshops and panels, but her more recent effort is extremely noteworthy. In 2019, she joined Drs. John Singer, Akilo Carter-Francique, Charles Crowley, and Nefertiti Walker in leading an insightful panel discussion on the low representation of Black scholars attending NASSM. This presentation was highlighted in Dr. McGarry's Ziegler Award speech for addressing significant concerns with inclusivity among NASSM's culture, membership, and conference attendees. But most importantly, if you spent any time with Jacqueline, and I have, you know her to be a very caring, devoted, and honest person. I've known Jacqueline for a little over 15 years, and early on in our friendship, I was once joking with her about an uncomfortable situation and comments that she had recently endured. I was not aware that they were uncomfortable for her, and I thought little of it, but later she opened up and shared with me just how much it bothered her and why. We discussed how such comments could be perceived negatively in different communities and cultures. And importantly, rather than admonish and attack me, she created a space for us to have a frank and open conversation. Jacqueline always wants to bring awareness to and improve inequitable experiences and opportunities for people of marginalized identities. She wants to open lines of communication and have the tough conversations that can lead to such positive change. She personifies the social advancement that she wants to impress upon anyone she talks to. She pushes forward her scholarly efforts, and she works towards in her daily interactions. During the time that we've been friends, Jacqueline has consistently been involved with personal and professional activities that demonstrate her commitment to making NASSM in the field of sport management more inclusive and equitable. I'm really pleased and honored to introduce Dr. Jacqueline McDowell as this year's NASSM Diversity Award winner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trevor, for your wonderful introduction. Your words made me realize that I have done a lot, but I have a lot more to do. I chose Trevor to introduce me because even though we have not stayed in contact as much as I think we both would have liked to, he has always held a special place in my heart. When I was a doctoral student at Texas A&M University, he was the person that made sure I understood the importance of living while learning, knowing when it is time to close the books and open a beer. He made sure I felt included and welcomed at Texas A&M University, and for that I will forever be grateful. Thank you very much, Trevor. I would like to thank everyone that was involved in the nomination and selection process for this award. I am very honored to be amongst a list of scholars that I have admired for years. Similar to most recipients of NASSM awards, I received a lot of congratulatory emails, calls, and text messages. And one in particular stood out to me. It was a message that I received from one of my former colleagues, Scott Tainsky. And he said, on top of everything you have done personally, your passion and commitment compelled me to up my efforts toward fairness and justice on an everyday basis when we were colleagues at U of I, and that has stayed with me since. This is what I love to hear. I recently spoke to some college graduates about legacy, and what Scott said is what I want to be known for. I don't want to just say and do. I also want to influence and inspire others to use their words and actions to advocate for a more just society. Thank you, Scott, for reminding me of what I once said about my legacy. There are a lot of other people that I would like to thank for supporting and challenging me throughout the years. My list is long, but I only have time to highlight a few people. So I would first like to thank my mom and all the Georges in my life. My dad, George McDowell Sr., my brother, George McDowell Jr., and my former doctoral studies advisor, George Cunningham, for all the support that they have provided me throughout the years. I would not be who I am without them. I would also like to thank my colleagues at my current institution, George Mason University, for their support. As you can tell, my life has been blessed with Georges. I would also like to thank my husband, Paul, for challenging me to think more critically about diversity and inclusion concepts and terminology. And finally, I would like to thank my beautiful little girl, Kennedy Simone, because her presence reminds me daily that if I want her to grow up in a world where people don't question her capabilities because of the color of her skin, I have to put in some more work. So people that know me know I'm a fan of the Avengers, and I love watching the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. A powerful moment stood out to me in one of the episodes. Sam spoke about the significance of being a Black man carrying the Captain American shield and wearing the stars and stripes. He stated that the only power I have is that I believe we can do better. We can't demand that people step up if we don't meet them halfway. Look, you control the banks. You can move borders. You can knock down a forest with an email. You can feed 1 million people with a phone call. But the question is, who's in the room when you make those decisions? Is it the people you're going to impact? Or is it just more people like you? The same question can be asked about NASSM. The lack of racial and ethnicity diversity on the EC is something that many scholars have taken notice of. The Diversity Committee even highlighted this in their workshop this morning, titled Barriers to Diversity and Inclusion in NASSM Leadership. And that workshop focused on identifying barriers and strategies to advance diverse representation in leadership in NASSM. So a lot of scholars have actually been commenting about this. Many people know that I frequently will say change starts with conversation. And so if you don't include all impacted people in important conversations, we will never get the change that many of us so much want. To have bold and inclusive conversation, we must first acknowledge that there are important differences that make a profound difference in people's perceptions and their outcomes. We should also start asking the uncomfortable questions when it comes to our association. We need to ask ourselves the questions that a few colleagues and I explored a few years ago when we inquired about why there's not that many Black scholars attending the NASSM conference. We need to ask ourselves why a society that has a significant number of Korean scholars does not have one scholar of Korean descent on the executive committee. We need to ask ourselves why the Women in NASSM Special Interest Group was created. And if you don't believe women in NASSM face inclusion challenges, you won't understand why there is a need, a significant need for WIN. If you're not concerned about the experiences of NASSM's LGBT scholars, Asian, Hispanic, and Black scholars, scholars with disabilities, trans men and women, then you may not be empathetic to NASSM members who don't feel welcome. This past year has been challenging in many regards. We have had to deal with a global pandemic that has resulted in people experiencing physical, mental, and social losses. We have experienced a year of protests against police brutality and calls for social justice and societal change. This year's conference theme, Race Forward, Agents for Change in Sport Management, it was developed in response to what was occurring in the larger society. As noted in the theme, I would like to encourage sports scholars and educators to more fully explore your role in advancing racial justice through your research, your teaching, and in practice. We, however, cannot just have conference themes and statements about diversity without clear and transparent goals and metrics to measure change. I also believe the chair of the Diversity Committee should have a role on the EC. We must also remember that diversity and inclusion efforts include all races and ethnicities. We cannot think that diversity means non-white. It includes men and women, cisgender and transgender individuals, persons that identify as heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, asexual, scholars with and without disabilities. All members of NASSM are a part of diversity and have a role in advancing its power. I would like to encourage everyone to use their voice to advocate for changes in NASSM, in your respective institutions, and in society in general. Thank you, and thank you again for this honor.
Thank you, Jacqueline, for reminding us of the important diversity and inclusive challenges NASSM experiences, and we thank you for your service and dedication. We are lucky to have you on the board to help guide those conversations. I would also like to congratulate you on your wedding that you're likely celebrating right at this very instant. So congratulations for the award and for your wedding. I'd now like to recognize the NASSM Research Fellows. All NASSM Research Fellows must have published at least 15 refereed journal articles. 3 of the total refereed journals must be within the last 6 years. 3 of the total refereed journal articles must be published hard copy submissions in the Journal of Sport Management no later than March 1st. Each NASSM Research Fellow must be first or solo author on at least 5 of the refereed journal articles, including at least 1 refereed publication in the Journal of Sport Management. All NASSM Research Fellows must have presented 20 refereed presentations. 4 of the total presentations must be within the last 6 years. 6 of the total presentations must be NASSM presentations. The following members are joining the fellowship this year: Kwame Ajiman, The Ohio State University; Trevor Bopp, University of Florida; Kate Hines, University of Michigan; Matt Hummel, University of Cincinnati; Gareth Jones, Temple University; Jun Sung Lee, Yonsei University; Brian McCullough, Texas A&M University; Katie Meisner, University of Waterloo; John Singer, Texas A&M University; Elizabeth Taylor, Temple University; B. David Tyler, University of Massachusetts Amherst; and Janelle Wells, University of Southern Florida. A big congratulations to the Research Fellow Class of 2021. Next, I'd like to introduce the Janet B. Parks Research Grant. Started in 2009, the Janet B. Parks NASSM Research Grant Program is intended to advance scholarship in sport management by providing support to NASSM members as they pursue projects of importance to the field. Award recipients must be professional NASSM member in good standing and must have been a member of NASSM for at least 1 year prior to receiving the award. Any co-investigator must be a NASSM member in good standing and must have been a member of NASSM for at least 1 year. This year's pool was very competitive with 14 proposals. The following professional members were awarded grants this year: Elizabeth Taylor and Katie Svensson from Temple University. Their project is titled Gone Girl, Exploring the Impact of Harassment and Hostile Work Environments for Women in the Sport Industry. Melissa Davies and Tommy Eicher from Ohio University and the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Their project is titled Workout from Home, the Relationships Between Brand Community and Brand Equity Among Connected Fitness Users. And Yurin Su from the University of Georgia. Her project is titled From Influencers to Endorsers, Connecting Female Athletes' Personal Brand with Potential Sponsored Product Categories Using a Computer Vision Approach. Thank you to all the members who submitted proposals this year, and congratulations again to our grant winners. Next, I'd like to acknowledge the recipients of the NASSM Doctoral Research Grant. This grant is intended to advance scholarship in sport management by providing support to NASSM doctoral student members as they pursue projects of importance to the field and advance scholarship in the field of sport management. This award is not intended to fund major dissertation projects. Those submitting must be enrolled as single authors in a college or university and not be currently employed in a full-time academic position at the time of submission. The following student members were awarded grants this year: Tiffany Demiris, advisor Chad Seifried, LSU. Her project is titled Exploring the Financial History and Modernization of College Football Stadia within NCAA Division I Football Bowl Series. Chan-Wook Kim, advisor John Moon Kim from the University of Florida. His project is titled Unpacking the Global Local Nexus, the Interface Among Sport Industry and Community and Individual Resilience. And finally, we have Logan Shuez, advisor Brent Oha from the University of Northern Colorado. His project is titled From the Ground Up, Empowering Employee Decision-Making. Thank you to all the student members who submitted proposals this year, and congratulations again to our grant winners. Now, I know they were thanked last night by Damon, but I'd like to send a special thank you to our outgoing EC members for all the hard work they have done this year. It's not easy working virtually throughout a pandemic, but you all did an exceptional job. Thank you for your hard work and service to NASM. You will be missed greatly. Eric McIntosh from the University of Ottawa, who I'd also like to say was awarded the 2020 Research Fellow, but he was accidentally admitted last night. So I just want to make sure that he was recognized for that from 2020. Thank you so much for your leadership, Eric. Sarah Stokowski from Clemson University, thank you for your hard work and very unique insights that you always brought to the committee. Tim Kellison from Georgia State University. Tim served on a number of committees with me, and I cannot thank you enough for your hard work and diligence. Outgoing Secretary, Web Administrator, and Treasurer, Leanne Lauer Hope, from the Ohio State University, who just welcomed her first son during NASM. So congratulations, Lee, on your newborn. And also, thank you so much for your service as Secretary. Scott Tainsky of Wayne State University, your guidance as part of the task force has been invaluable. Thank you for all your insights and feedback along the way. We could not have done it without you. And to Orland Haber from the University of Regina. Service definitely runs in the family, I think, with the two of you. Thank you for your 16 years of dedication and service to NASM. You are a rock star. I know that I could not have done many of the various jobs I've done for NASM along my path to president without you. Thank you for your patience, your sage advice, and unique perspective. Your historical knowledge of NASM is so very valuable. And I apologize in advance if I continue to email you in the future, but you did tell me that I could. So do feel free to block you if I take advantage of that. But thank you again, Orland, for your very, very long time service to NASM. And finally, I'd like to thank past President Bob here for his dedicated service to NASM. He worked very hard to develop and advance many initiatives for NASM throughout his presidency. We thank you for your role in getting NASM to where we stand today. And lastly, I would like to thank Stacy Warner, our esteemed conference manager. It is because of you that our conference is such a success. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes, and we cannot thank you enough for all of the hard work that you do to make this conference a success. Thank you so much for your service, Stacy. And as we close, I'd just like to remind everyone that the call for nominations for each of the distinguished awards, including the new Distinguished Research Award, which we passed last night at the AGM, will be announced shortly. Please do consider nominating your colleagues for these distinguished awards. I'd also like to invite you to join us in person for the 2022 NASM conference in Atlanta, which will be June 1st through June 5th of 2022. I look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you for joining me this evening. I cannot wait to see you in person next year. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
'Cause girl, you want me, I want you, baby, my sugar boo.